As a new ball python breeder, it can be really difficult to know if you are overpaying for the animals that you are purchasing or if they are actually worth their price. And there are some people in the ball python community that believe that you can't overpay for a ball python because as long as you breed it and as long as you produce babies from that animal, eventually you will be able to recoup the cost that you spent on it regardless of what you pay. So for this week's video, we are going to be diving into the idea of what does it mean to overpay for a ball python and what is our criteria to determine whether or not we did overpay. Anyways, my name's Steven with Leviathan, and let's get to it.
So the first expensive snake that we bought, versus something for like $500. The first project that we decided to get into, Steven decided to get into Sunset. And he asked me, starting off, to get a female het Sunset. Not a proven breeder, but she was a sub-adult. I think she was like 1,000 grams, maybe 1,200 grams at the time, but she was $1,000. Roughly, yeah. And she looks like a normal. So this is Evie, and she was our first expensive snake. She was, I think, about $1,000. And she's a het Sunset. Steven, like I said, I want to say bought her used, but he bought her as a sub-adult from somebody who thought they were going to get into breeding and had changed their mind. So they weren't like an established breeder. They weren't somebody in the Sunset Project. So what he did is he found her listing as a hatchling from, I think, Brock on Morph Market and matched the markings to make sure that she was the het Sunset that he wanted. So from her first clutch, we got 2 visual sunsets and we held one back. And the other was a female that I believe we sold for $5,000. So she was $1,000 and we sold her very first baby for $5,000. We also got a couple het sunsets from her, and I want to say at the time, het sunset males were probably closer to $500, would you say? Yeah. And then females were $1,200. So I think we probably, if we had gotten, was it a five egg clutch, 2 visuals, 3 hets. So I think for her first clutch, with that $5,000, say $6,000, I'd say $6,500 for her first clutch. Subtract the $1,000, so $5,000 profit.
Before we can really dive into the idea of overpaying for a ball python, we need to be able to understand how animals, how ball pythons, how reptiles, and really how all products and services can be priced, because there's lots of different models in order to do this. So when it comes to the ball python hobby, generally speaking, I think that it is standard practice to go onto something like Morph Market, search for the combo and the sex of the animal that you have that you need to price, and then compare what everybody else are pricing their animals at. And then generally the way that we look at it is that the market price for a specific combo or a specific sex with that combo is if there are multiple different people who already have that exact same combo listed, then what you do is you use essentially the lowest price that multiple different people have it listed. So the reason why I say that it's multiple different people is it's very common for somebody to list an animal lower than the market price because they're trying to sell their animal first. But if there's only one person doing that, that doesn't really reflect the market value of that animal, and instead that reflects somebody who's trying to move their animal really quickly.
So speaking of that first project, so when Steven asked me to get that female, he obviously had to ask me to get a male. And he reached out to Brock Wagner Reptiles. He found Brock's website, called Brock, and Brock said, "How did you get my number?" Steven said, "From your website." Brock said, "I have a website, and let's talk business." So that's Amos. So he said that he had a sunset boy that he was barely out of the egg, and he was asking $4,500. Steven offered $3,000.
$3,500.
Sorry, $3,500. And we got this boy Aries, who's actually an OD sunset, for $3,500. Again, by the time he was breeding, males were going for $6,000, females were going for $5,000. So again, with his first season, that $5,000 clutch, $5,500 clutch, $6,500 clutch was one of them. We also paired him to a clown female and an ultramale female.
And a pastel chocolate desert ghost and a red striped yellow belly female.
Let me get to it.
Oh, sorry. In addition to the market price, given the current state of the reptile hobby, auctions are a huge aspect of buying and selling animals. But the auction price is often significantly less than the market price for any given combo or any given gene. So when you're looking at auction prices, generally speaking, you are able to get animals for far below market value, which does influence the market value if enough of those animals are coming up on auction. But if it is a gene or if it's a combo that barely ever comes up on auctions, I don't think that their auction price is reflective of their market value. Going away from online sales and going towards in-person, generally speaking, if you go to a reptile show and you are buying the animal in person, the animal is going to be cheaper than what it's going to be advertised for online. So this creates situations where you essentially have a show price. So the reason why show prices tend to be a little bit lower is that it's easier for the seller to deal with that interaction, because once you exchange the money, the seller doesn't have to worry about shipping the animal, and the transaction, generally speaking, is done, because most of the time people don't really accept payment plans and then give the animal to the person if you're at a show. Instead, if they're going to accept a payment plan, generally they are going to be less flexible on the price. So show prices are in most cases lower than the market price as well.
So I think we sold a pair of double het ultramel sunset. Nope, double het clown sunset. The pair for $4,000. Double het.
Roughly.
Yeah. So we got $4,000 out of that pair. We held back. So Steven's like naming all of these pairings we made. He held back damn near all of them. They're all, what do you think all these racks are for? They're all Steven's sunset holdbacks. So I don't know how much we sold babies for, but I think when we did the math, his first season breeding, we made about, not including holdbacks, between $15,000 and $20,000 off of his babies that first season. And again, that doesn't include any of the holdbacks, which are filling our snake shop right now. Here's one of his babies from our first season. This is a chocolate Enchi OD double het sunset DG. So this boy is a breeder for us now. So yeah, he came from that first season of breeding. Chocolate Enchi OD double het sunset DG. And now he has babies, right?
Yep.
That we held back. So that baby has new babies even down the road. So Aries was not like a one-time, one and done kind of guy. We paired him this year.
Lanray.
No, we paired Aries last year, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
So he's still like producing clutches for us, but his baby Lanray sired a clutch last year, and this girl,
Yep.
I believe, is a chocolate triple het clown DG sunset. So she went for $4,000.
And lastly, let's say that you have a relationship with the breeder and you have bought multiple different animals from them in the past, or maybe you support them through Patreon. It is very, very common for breeders to reward that loyalty and give better prices to the people who keep coming back to them. So that also can create a situation where somebody could buy an animal for lower than the market price. So with all of these different scenarios where somebody could potentially pick up an animal for less than what the actual market value is, does that mean that buying an animal for the market price is overpaying for it? And in my opinion, I don't think that paying the full market value, or in some situations even more than the market value, is overpaying for a ball python. But I do think that it is 1000% possible to overpay for a ball python.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have a snake that I asked Steven to get, and I was so excited about. I still love him so much. But this is a female maker banana OD Enchi asphalt, guaranteed asphalt, came from a super asphalt. At the time we got him, there was not a lot of guaranteed asphalt. There was a lot of yellow belly / asphalt. There also wasn't a lot of female maker bananas. And he was kind of ready to go at the time. So I think we spent $4,000 on this boy. And by the time he was breeding, shed test had come out. And there was a lot more proven asphalts available. It was not nearly as difficult to find out whether you had an asphalt or a yellow belly. And so because of that, prices in the yellow belly complex, like asphalt and freeway, came down quite a bit. So we still made a good amount of money off of his first season, but it wasn't like his first clutch the way Aries was.
In order to understand whether or not you are paying the appropriate value for a given combo, I think that there are two specific perspectives that are really, really important in order to understand whether or not you've overpaid. And the very first one is comparing it to everything else on the market. If you know, or if it is very easy to buy a specific gene, a specific combo for, let's say, $1,000, because there's multiple different people who have them on the market at any given time for $1,000, and you end up buying that exact same combo, those exact same genes, the exact same sex, the exact same age of that specific $1,000 combo for $5,000, you pretty much have overpaid. And I think that you can recoup your investment from the $5,000 and ultimately make it a positive return. But objectively, you have overpaid because you could have gotten the exact same thing for 20% of what you paid for. But I don't think that comparing things like this is the best way to understand whether or not you have overpaid. Instead, when we are breeding ball pythons, we need to look at the subsequent babies that we're going to be producing, because that is the real reason why we are picking up the animal, and it's the babies that are going to determine whether or not we have overpaid.
So where we got him for $4,000 with him being guaranteed asphalt, we were selling super asphalt, like a super asphalt male from him for $1,000. When we bought him for $4,000 and we bought this super asphalt girl for $2,500, I think. And so by the time she was going, the prices had come down even more. And so now I think we sold like a banana pastel super asphalt male for $1,000, which was one of her babies. But yeah, so prices have been kind of cut in half. They've still held on for what they are as like a incomplete dominant, but yeah, it was not nearly as easy to recuperate the cost from them.
To dive into the subsequent hatchling value in more depth, we need to understand not only what have we paid for the male, but also the female to produce the clutch. So let's say that we have a situation where we have two $3,000 animals that we had purchased, and we breed them together. We have $6,000 invested into that clutch. If the babies that are produced are on average worth $1,000, and assuming that an average clutch size is 6 eggs for ball pythons, that means that while we have spent $3,000 on each parent for a total cost basis of $6,000, and the subsequent babies are only worth a third of what the parents were worth, we still are going to be making $6,000 in that very first clutch. And to me, this is a situation where the parents were priced appropriately. I believe that the appropriate value, the appropriate price of the parents results in a situation where you can recoup the entire investment in both parents for a clutch in the very first clutch that they produce, because we know that there's going to be price falls, but because the clutches are more animals that we are creating than just the two parents, it's okay if the parents fall in price. But if the fall is so big that by the time that we are able to produce babies from, let's say, that $6,000 cost basis clutch, that the babies are only worth $200 each, that means that while we invested $6,000 into the clutch, we would only return $1,200 in the very first clutch. And in that situation, I 1000% believe that you would have overpaid for the parents given the subsequent price fall.
Because he had like really good genes and we had a lot of like yellow belly and other asphalt, we did pair him quite a bit, which made it a lot easier to pay himself off, since we paired him to so many girls. But now like a super asphalt black pastel girl is going for like $1,200.
Now, one of the biggest challenges to analyzing projects like this is that you do not have all of the information when you buy the animal. There is a risk and there is a gamble whenever you make an investment in your business, and that includes every single animal that you purchase. It is possible, though not very common, that you could buy an animal for $3,000 and 2 to 3 years later, maybe that specific combo or one of those genes is really, really hot, and now the babies are worth $5,000. So it is a situation where the prices can go up, but generally speaking, in the ball python or in the reptile hobby overall, as more people are able to produce animals in a project, the prices are going to go down. So you should expect that if you spend $3,000 for an animal as a baby, by the time you're going to breed them, they will no longer be worth $3,000. Maybe they're worth $2,000 or $1,500 or $1,000. But when it comes to that time, the fact that we are able to produce more animals than just the two parents that we use to make the clutch is what allows us to recoup all of the money that we have invested in the parents, and then we are able to make a profit off of that project in subsequent seasons.
When I think of like overpaying, because some of it is what it is, right? Like people might be like, oh, you paid too much for that, you're not gonna like recuperate your money. Sometimes you're just buying a beautiful snake that you really like, and you can't really overpay for that. Other times people are taking advantage of you and they're charging you an exorbitant amount of money for something that is not that cost, because they know you're going to pay that amount. So in that case, I would say you are overpaying. But I don't think like, oh, you spent $250 on a X, those are actually only 175 at the flippers table over there. I don't think the person who bought the more expensive of the same morph is overpaying if they're buying an experience like an animal that's better suited to them, because they are more than just their morph,
huge thank you to everyone for watching the video, and quick reminder, again, we are doing the Patreon bonus credit to celebrate Courtney taking Leviathan full-time, so any active Patreon member on April 11th will get 1 extra month's credit added to their account to use towards a future snake purchase with us. So we hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, but we will see you next week.